Okay, welcome back, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so now read lines in a loop. How to read lines in a loop. Okay, so it's possible to simply open a file in read mode and go through the line in a loop. Automatically, when you open a new file or when you open a file, the computer sees each line as an item that can be iterated through. So in this loop, because the computer sees once this code executes, which is going to be the first thing to execute, is going to create a list of all the lines in memory. So it's possible to loop through it like this. Take note that I just chose line for interest. It does not really have any implicit meaning, or it could have been any variable there. So looping through it, I'm making use of this strip. But before I run it with strip, let me remove strip so we can see what difference it makes. So there you go. Hello world comes to a new line, then goes to another line again. It's a good day, then does the same thing, then brings the last line. The simple reason is if we go back up here, where is it? Okay, here we can see that at the end of each line, there is this new line character. And that new line character is the reason why this thing is giving extra line. Take note that print already has end line that is a new line as a default. So what this means is we're going to have double new lines, and that's why we're having this extra space here. So in order to avoid that, and if you don't want, we can address it by simply changing this n to an empty string. It's going to work. Another way to go about it is, let me revert to what I had before. Using this strip that is simply going to remove the new line character at the end. So let me run it. Yeah, so there it is. It has removed the new line character, and you can see it printed properly. So let me add okay, let's just go on. Okay, so the code below does the same thing. So what I did here is to explicitly use read lines to convert this into a list. Remember I told you that read lines converts, opens, or after opening, read line converts each line to an item in a list. So that's what I'm doing here. It does the same thing as above, but it is more verbose. I mean, you're adding extra things there when we can simply get it done like this. But it is important you know at least that it can also be achieved this way. So I'm running it. And there you go. Yeah, hello world, it's a good day. Thank you for joining this class. So now, what can you not do? What can you not do? You cannot open a non-existing file in a read mode. This mode we're discussing, read mode, a file that doesn't exist. Remember, I had to bring a file here before I open it in the earlier cells. If the file does not exist, so here I'm saying, okay, open non-existing .txt. Assume this is a name. It could have been anything. I could just call it existing, and it will still be all right. But for the sake of instruction, I made use of non-existing. So open non-existing in read mode. So let's see it. And it simply returns an error. No such file or directory non-existing exists. So it doesn't exist, no such file or directory, non-existing. So it doesn't exist, so it cannot open it. So now, you cannot write to a read-only file. So when you call a file read-only, it is intuitive that you cannot write to that file. So let's try to, yes, go against the intuition now and see what happens. Sure, we get an error, not writable. I told you error reading is very important. That is what we'll be discussing tomorrow if conditions are favorable and we're able to hold the class. So not writable, we'll be discussing about errors and how to read and interpret. Oh, is it errors? No. Tomorrow, we'll figure it out. Okay, so here is another mode, read plus. Read plus. Yes, it is a read mode, but it has a plus to it. And the plus is simply writing. It allows you to write to it as well as read from it. And there's an extra information here. The pointer is placed at the beginning of the file. At the beginning of the file. Don't blame yourself too much if you cannot remember all these modes. Know very well that you can simply make use of Google if you've forgotten what each mode signifies. I'm quite sure though that mostly you're making use of maybe just 3 of all the modes. There are about 7 or 8 modes. I think more, about 9 modes, if I'm not mistaken. So you wouldn't be making use of more than 3 regularly or 4. But it's important at least you know how to make use of all. And if you forget, you can always go to Google and type in modes, reading or open modes for files in Python, or how to open Python files, and you're going to get the various modes you can open with. So let me show an illustration here. So I can open the first or the second, or I think I prefer this. So I'll open this tutorials point. And it's going to show, if you go through it, it explains how to open and read files. And here it shows you the modes and description. Okay. So let's come back here. Now, in this mode, I said you can open, read, and write. So let's open it and write. We've seen how to read. So there's no point overflogging that. We'll simply try to write to an existing file first. So open an existing file and write new content to the beginning of the file. So it has executed. Now let's see, let's open it. Let's open the file now. After we have written, this will be written to it. Now, I wanted to make an observation here. This will be written. This will be written. Okay, yeah. So this will be written OOD day. Then you have thank you for joining this class. So you should observe something, that the existing file seems to have been overwritten. I'm trying to open it sideways. Yeah, so if you look at it now, you would notice that we had 3 lines before, it's down to 2 now. What simply happened is, or what happened was, the first line was just hello world. And I think it will be about this length. So, but what we are writing in is this will be written. So the first line is not even enough to take what you are writing in. So it takes part of the second line and continues. The second line is supposed to be it's a good thing. You can say that in 10%. So because file and the right overwrites the contents of the file. So there it is. Notice that file closing, we're going to emphasize on the need to close and go forward. So yeah, now what you can do, you can write to it. Of course, you can read, as you can see here. Now, what can you not do? You cannot, this cannot be used to write to the end of the file, because we have stated here that it overrides. You see inserts there. I want to show you something else that can be used for. It's just like opening a file in a read plus mode. So let me write something. I paste this. I'm just write this. Take this as random text that I've just written, not a code. So now I push my insert button. I've pressed it, and I start to type. You notice how it's going to overwrite the content. See, I've placed my pointer at the beginning. So this is just like opening read plus mode. So, oh, sorry, let me push it again. It didn't respond before. Apparently, it's not working. Okay, it doesn't work in Notepad, but it sure works. Okay, let me try it here on this. Yeah, so let me try it here. It is yet not working. There must be a problem, but ideally when you push insert and you start typing, it starts overwriting the content of the existing content. Once you place the pointer maybe before some text, it starts overwriting the text right after it. So that's the same thing this read plus mode does. So it overwrites it, and now I said it cannot be used to write file to the end of, to write data to the end of the file. So you want to write at the end of the file, you should not use read plus mode. That is the message. Now here we have W mode, which is write mode, write only. So if you open a file in this mode, if the file is existing, it simply truncates the file and opens a new one. Take note, it's truncated if the file is existing. So here we have text.txt here. Let me download it so I can re-upload if there is need. File. So we have text.txt. If you open it in W mode, if the file is existing, it's going to drop the file, delete the file, and open a fresh slate. So you want to use this if you know that anytime you are writing to that, anytime you are opening that file, you don't need the existing content of the file. So you can make use of the write mode. So let's see it. It overwrites the file if it exists, just as I said, or let me say it truncates it. I think I've explained that here. This is it truncates the existing file and writes a new file. So, but if the file does not exist, it simply opens the file afresh. So here we're opening text.txt, which exists as in write mode. So I open it and I write this. This is the only thing that will be written. Okay, let's write this. So I'm basically having 2 lines to be written in it. So I run it. Remember, we had something in this text file before. I think it is still here. This will be written day. Thank you for joining this class. You would realize that it will no longer exist when we read this new file that we are opening. But remember, so when you open file in write only mode, you cannot read. So for that reason, I'm going to open the file in read mode now, read the content in 1 line. Let's write this too. So you can see that what happened before we are in write mode. Now, what you cannot do in this write mode, you cannot read the contents of the file. Not readable. Even though it is writable, it is not readable. So take note, if you open in write mode, you cannot read it. So as I've explained, assume um, you are writing, for instance, if you are a database developer and you are running a script that you expect it to provide a log of whether it succeeded in running it completely, how many rows it's read, and all that. So you can decide to open it in write mode, such that if that file exists, it's going to drop it and write a new one. I'm assuming you created a pipeline that runs daily. So and you want that anytime you come back to check what has been run, you want to see that log, the most recent one. You don't want the old ones. So you can decide to make use of your write mode in this situation. And remember, you don't want to even read it with the Python code or whatever code you're writing. You want to come and open it manually. So you don't need to read it. You need to just use the write only mode. Now, you cannot use it if you want to preserve the existing content of the file. So I have explained this over and over. If you want to maintain the existing content, you can't use it because it's going to drop the file entirely and open a fresh file. Now, let's examine W plus mode. It is simply write plus read. So it is a write mode, but it also gives read access. So it shares the same property with the write only mode, the write only mode. It shares the same property with the write only mode, but it's at an extension of reading. So the only extra thing it does is read. So all the things I've said about write also applies, but it is also able to read. So here I open a file in write plus mode. I write this. I'm able to write in multi-lines by using these 3 opening quotes instead of the usual one. It would have been just one, but here I made use of 3 double quotes at the beginning and 3 double quotes at the end. And I'm able to format this in a separate line without needing to specify end of line character to separate it. So now I write this, then here again, I write something else again. So because this is write mode, you know, I spoke about pointer. That pointer is what tells the computer where to start writing from or where to start reading from. So most of these modes, for instance, read-only mode, automatically when you open a file in read-only mode, it places the pointer at the start because it's going to read everything from the start to finish or from the start to whatever point you specify. If you open a file in write plus mode, it does the same thing. It places the pointer at the start, and if it's going to read, it reads from the start. If you're going to write, it writes from the start and overwrites. If you open in write only mode, of course, it's going to truncate and open a fresh file. So you expect it to be at the start. If you're opening write plus mode, which we are discussing here, it's going to place the pointer as well at the start because it's going to truncate the existing file or anything. So the pointer is at the start. Now, if you would want to use seek to ensure that your pointer is at the start of your file or wherever you want it to be. You may not want it at the start of the file. So here we want it to be at the start. So we pass 0 to seek. That tells you that seek is used to basically move your pointer from one point to another, anywhere you want it to be. 0 simply means at the 0th character point. So that's the output, not formatted as several lines. I mean, as a single line. It's formatted as a single line, but you can see the new line. If I wanted it to be properly formatted, I may want to use print so that it can format it. Print will pass the new line characters appropriately. So you can see. Now, it may also not be needed to use your seek, especially in the case of write, because write drops any file that exists, write plus mode. So, yeah, after writing to it, yeah, I just got the reason. After writing to the file, remember when you write a lot of things, your cursor or your pointer will be where you finished writing to the last point. So at the end of writing this, if I don't pass this seek to move it back to the start, it will want to read from the end here, which is day, from the end of day here, and read it forward. But there will be nothing after, and that's why it's going to return empty or nothing rather. It's going to return nothing. So by passing 0 to seek, it's going to take it back to the start. You could have passed any other thing. Let me pass 20, and you'll see that it will not read it from the start of the, it won't read from written at the beginning. You can see where it starts, NING and others. So seek can be any number. Okay, so going forward, what can you not do in write plus mode? In write plus mode, you cannot use it as if you want to, you cannot use write plus mode if you want to preserve the existing content of the file. Just the same thing that applies to the write only mode. It also applies to the write plus mode, except the fact that you can also read in write plus mode. That's just the only difference. You can read. Okay, so you can also not, you can also, okay, you cannot use read without calling seek. Yes, I've emphasized on it in the previous example. So you must use seek to take it back to a point where you can at least read characters, because your pointer will be at the end after writing to such file. So I give an example here. This line prints empty string. If I simply try to, so let me do this same thing here. Okay, so the same thing I did before, but without seek now. So, but I've explained it. So you would realize that the first print will not output anything. So there's an error. Let me see what the error is. Okay, let me correct it. F. Okay, so we see the first print does not output anything. You may not really know. Let me add something. Excuse me. First print, so that we can at least see. Hold on. End of first print. I'm adding this so we can be able to differentiate between the first print statement and the second print statement. So we can see first print, end of first print, nothing in between it. That means nothing got printed by this f.read. This read did not return anything because we didn't make use of pointer, seek, to return the pointer to the start. Well, I've corrected that here, and that's why this works. So let me comment it out. So for a better, so here, nothing, but if I uncomment it, and we have something. So now, the next mode we're discussing is the A mode, append. It opens file for appending only. You can append to the file. What append means is, at the end of the file, you're able to add it. So what this mode does is, it opens the file in write mode and takes the pointer to the end of the file. But another thing is, unlike write mode that deletes the existing file, this one does not delete the existing file. So maybe write mode is not even the right mode, it's not the right example. I should say it opens it in read plus mode. Remember, in read plus mode, you can read and you can write. So, but you can, the pointer is at the beginning in read plus mode. So here you can read I mean, you cannot read, but you can write. So when you open it, the pointer is placed at the end. The file is also preserved. It does not delete the content of the file. So in this example, let's see the file we have. I'll open it sideways here. So we can see it at the right side of the screen. This is what we have currently. So when we open it, it's not going to delete the existing content. It's simply going to write something new to the existing file. But we can't read from it. So because we can't read from it, I'm going to reopen it. After writing to it, I'm going to reopen it as read, in read mode. There's actually no need for this seek. Yeah, because we are reopening the file again. So there it is. It opens this, but it's not properly formatted because I'm not using print. Let me add print. So here you go. It has been properly formatted. In 10 minutes, we will have to end this wherever we stop. And if the rate at which you're going, we're unlikely to finish in 10 minutes, but I only have 10 minutes more to use on this Zoom plan. So I'll ask before the end whether we can reopen another meeting just immediately after it so we can reconnect. Okay, so we can see this here. What we had before is this. What we have now, happy are you, has been written in. So don't try to mind the English syntax or the correctness. I just wrote any random thing there. Okay, so it opened it in append mode and the pointer is placed at the end here. I think I should have been using this to even explain since it didn't really occur to me. It would have been much more intuitive. So the pointer is at the end here, and once I run this, happy are you will get printed here, just at the end here. But because I want it to be on a new line, I made use of this. I made use of these 3 quotation instead of just 1. Okay, so what can you not do in this append mode? You cannot read a file in append mode. So let's see it. Remember, we have our writer here. We open it as writer. So the writer is still open. Let me try to read from the writer since it is still open. So there is an error, not readable. So we have append plus mode. So you can think of any mode that exists that there would always be a plus of it that would give the other, or that would give enhanced functionality to it. So in this mode, it opens the file for reading and appending. It opens the file for reading and appending. So it adds reading ability or reading function to the append mode. So that's just the difference. So there's no need to overflog it. Open it in append plus mode. I write to it, and it tells me how many lines I've written. And here, I use seek to take it back. I mean, to take it to 40th character point. I want you to read from there. Because in append mode, this thing will get printed here. This is going to get printed like this. I will undo it because I don't want to save it. So this code is going to do it for us. So it's going to get printed at the end. No, it's going to be here, not where I showed you before. So it's going to be here. It's going to get printed here. So let's run it. And because the pointer will be at the end, I'm using 6 to take the pointer to character 40, which will be around, I'm not sure, I can't count, but somewhere around here, I guess. So let's see it. So you can see it's in fact on the second line, I think. Yeah, second line, because it starts printing from this point to the end. So you can see the new line gets printed in. I will append to the end of the file. It has been indeed appended, and we're able to read from it. So now, writing other file formats. We've been discussing just TXT. If you see, all the files we've been given example of have been TXT. And I said we could write in other formats. So let's see this example. We can write without specifying the extension. If you write such file and save it, anytime you want to open it, because there is no extension, the computer is not able to is not able to deduce which file, which software to open it with. So, and you have to specify which software you want to open such file with. I'll try to see if I have any such file on my system that I can use to showcase it. So, but let's try to do this. I'm writing to no extension file, but I'm not specifying the .txt or .whatever. So I write to it, and I'm introducing close here. I emphasize that any file you open and write to, the moment you stop using that file, ensure you close it. When I say stop using it, remember that in real life code, you won't be interacting with your code. Your code would have been written and will be running on its own wherever you leave it to run. So it could be that there will be something that will trigger your code that will make it run and stop at the end of it. So you ensure that anytime you open a file, you close the file after you have done some things with it, whatever you want to do with it. So here, no extension, write mode, that is it. It has been written here. You can see it's unlike this that has .txt, this has nothing. We can as well open it. It's open. So I want to open it in read mode. Print it. Excuse me. As f dot read everything. So this file, this is what I wrote in it. This file is without an extension. It can still be opened by the computer. Now writing a py file. So py is the extension for saving Python file. Any file saved with .py, you can double click on the file and it's going to execute immediately. So now we're going to showcase that here. In some of the previous classes, you've seen me import some modules. So I'm going to import the file we are writing here. So in this file, I'm deliberately writing a code or writing code in it, an executable code. So such that by the time I try to import that file, so I'm giving the name of the file as py_file. So anytime I import the file, it's going to execute what I have written as code here. This code should be a little familiar when we discussed loops. So this printing patterns with loop. So I'm printing a pattern, you see it. So I have run it and I've closed it at the end of it. I opened it as in append mode. So opening it in append mode means before I close it here, I can still append new things to it. If the file already exists, now I've run it once. If I run it the second time, okay, before I run it the second time, at least let's import it and see what happens. So I'm importing this file and it's going to do something. Yeah, it prints, it executes the file, the code in it. So there are two lines for I in this, blah, blah, blah. So it executes it and we have this pattern printed. So because it is in append mode, if I run this code again, it's going to do the same thing, open it in append mode, place the pointer at the end. Let me open this file at the right side of the screen so you can see. This is what I have in the file currently. If I run this code again, the pointer is open this file and place the pointer here, and it will write this same code into it. So let's see it. It has done that. So let's try to import it again and see what happens now. Okay, it has been imported before, and it is typical of Python files that once they have imported a module once, it stores the module in memory. So in order for it to show how this works, I'm going to restart my runtime. Restart runtime. So I have less than 1 minute. Let me stop and we reconnect using the same link. Take note, we are reconnecting using the same link we used to connect this.